everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
So, we are going to be talking about the newest episode of Moon Knight. So, if you are watching with us, don't forget to take your shot because this is a wind down. Get
So
your
wind down.
and drink up because we're going to be discussing the whole shebang, right? So, episode 5, it pretty much opens up with, I guess it's like some kind of we see a woman saying like it's all your fault or something. Then we're flashed to a point where Mark is back into the insane asylum. Pretty much, she's talking to Dr. Harrow, and he was still under the impression that you drugged me, like where am I? And they kind of went more in depth into his supposed or alleged psychosis, right? And while they're discussing, Mark starts to lose it. He's like, get me out of here, yada, yada, yada. So he ends up like the orderly comes in, tries to cart him away, and then we're flashed to the point that we left off at in the previous episode where we're looking at the hippo. We got Steven, we got Mark, they're screaming.
The hippo screaming because she don't know what's going on. She's like, ah!
Yes,
it's like a wild ass cartoon. Yeah.
I do have this British hippo. Like that was the weird.
I was about to bring that up, bro. I was about to bring that up.
Yeah.
Because she's supposed to be this Egyptian deity, thousands of years old. She's the deity over women and children from Egypt, ancient Egypt, and she got this British ass accent. Same thing with Kachu. I'm like, this don't make no sense, bro. But whatever. I guess I won't pretend like it's not the case. What'd you say?
I was saying narrative because that did. I was like, well, the accent. I said it's a beautiful accent, but I said this is kind of weird here.
It don't fit. It don't fit. Let's stop whitewashing history here. That's all I'm gonna say. But anyway, I digress. So she's pretty much, she's screaming, and the guys are screaming, and she's like, "Oh, are you guys twins? What's going on?" And Mark says no. Stephen says kinda, right?
Kinda, yeah.
And pretty much she's explaining to them that you guys are dead.
I love this. Go ahead.
Spoiler alert, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And Steven Mark is like, no, we're just crazy. There's something wrong with us. He's starting to believe what Dr. Harrow or whatever his name, Dr. Arthur is telling him. But yeah, I'm like, this is an interesting, turn of events because go ahead.
No, I was going to say this was an interesting spot because right here, when you talk about you mentioned Asylum, right? And she pretty much is trying to explain, well, when you die, it's pretty much they put you where it's for you. I forget how they explained it. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, I know if that was me, I would totally be at a pizza shop. So I just wanted to throw that out there so much. Like, I would love that because to me, that's heaven and whatnot. So when they're at this weird asylum, and I also want to throw out here, spoiler alert, this was a Steven episode, but carry on. I wanted to throw that joke in where it was pretty much like I would totally be at a pizza restaurant or maybe a bar. Definitely a bar.
This is another thing that I found nonsensical, right? So if this is some Egyptian deity that's been alive for thousands of years, or at least been around for thousands of years, right? Mm-hmm. She mentioned something along the lines of, everyone's version of this afterlife is different. Yes. This is my first time being in an insane asylum, right? I'm like, how? You've been around for thousands of years.
I guess it's her way. I mean, so I'm not trying to, because everything it's so hard to explain everything, right? But I'm assuming she's just, this is like the first time, because think about all the things people might have dealt with, not even dealt with, things people might have fantasized with. They might have been, like I joked, at a bar. They might have been somewhere in the streets. They might have been kind of past life. Not past life, like something at their parents' house. And maybe for her, she's like, well, this is something I've never seen before. This blew my mind. At the same time, if you've been here for thousands of years.
She's never seen someone, in an insane asylum. And not only that, right?
I think, wait. I think that the person brings the place because they're thinking about it.
Yes.
So I think it's the first time.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Somebody's come in with an insane asylum.
But
You know what I'm
people
saying?
die
Like,
every second. So every second, over thousands of years, she's never seen someone imagine themselves in an insane asylum.
Well,
I
to
don't
be
know.
fair,
Anyway,
I'll say
no,
this. To
'cause the
be
thing
fair,
is that, no, I mean, who would normally do that? You know what I'm
crazy
saying? Like,
people. Crazy people.
no, like, okay,
don't call
like,
me LC.
I want to go. I want to go. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Damn,
my
till you call me
dream
out.
is to go be in a padded room. You know what I'm saying? By myself with a straight jacket. Forget, like an island with a bunch of women.
These
Like, go.
look, these
Like, you know what
people,
I'm saying?
I'm sure
So,
it's happened before. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. But either way, right?
I want to find that.
So Mark is pretty much like, hey, thanks for watching.
Hey.
So pretty much Mark is like, no, we're not dead, we're just crazy, right? Me and Stephen, we're insane.
Denial.
I'm gonna open these doors, and it's gonna lead to bingo night in the crazy house. So he opens the doors, and instead of leading back into bingo, we are kind of transplanted into
On the Titanic.
on this like
This
Egyptian
big-ass ship.
Titanic ship in the desert. And it reminded me very much of I don't know if you guys saw Soul on Disney Plus, that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so when they were like, trying to get into their spark or whatever, it's very similar. There's the boat on the sand, and all of that. And if you fall off, some shit will happen. But either way, Hippo,
wow,
she's like, no,
that really is very similar.
No, pretty much don't fall off.
Yes.
But she does
Very
explains
similar,
that
and-
too. She explains that about when you're on the ship and talks about the balance, where if you're balanced, you get to see, pretty much heaven. I forgot what it is. It was like the field of
reeds.
Thank you. The field of, what is it? Field of reeds?
Yeah.
But if not, we have to throw you off the ship and you turn to stone and you just die. So it's like,
the zombies will get you.
I know, right? I'm sitting there saying like, wow, things don't sound so fun here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty much what she explains to them, that hey, they are on their way, and during this little travel of theirs, she would have to weigh their hearts. So she like grabs inside their chest, pulls out these like white colored hearts, put them on the scale.
What's my heart look like?
Yeah. And as she's trying to weigh it, kind of like when Arthur was trying to like scale him with his powers, it was shaking all around. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on. But old girl was like, this is, your hearts aren't balanced.
Fell.
So,
it wasn't filled. She said it wasn't filled. Yeah.
They were half filled, or one all the way filled. So you have to uncover each other's secrets, to like get this to balance out, right? So she's like, the ship holds all of your memories. So they're like, okay, she tells them, hey, go in there, resolve some things and come back. And hopefully by the time you come back, everything's, okie dokie out here, right? Mm-hmm. So they go back in the ship, and I think almost instantly they're transplanted back into like
the asylum.
Back into the asylum.
But when they see the doors, there's all these memories, but it's like the memory from episode 1.
Uh-huh.
And I think maybe 3. It was the one where he was doing the the stuff with the stars and whatnot. So, they've seen all this stuff because Mark was trying to really hold back. Mark was trying to.
He's the one with the secrets. So
I know he was the one saying this. Saying, Steven, we don't have to do this. Steven, we don't have to do that. Matter of fact, he kept saying, Steven, we can take the hippo. This man ready to fight the hippo. He was like, yo, we can take we can take the goddess out. Like the goddess. We can take out, throw her up. There's 2 of us. He said, if you give me rope. It reminded me of his man's name. I can't think. Rhodey. And he was like, we could just get baby Thanos and so he was ready for the smoke because he did not want stuff being revealed. He was very
because he's lying, just like a nigga. He won't tell you like, oh no, we don't gotta do that. We don't gotta do, let's do this instead, trying to distract you from the truth, which is what Mark was doing the whole episode. Because when they're going through the asylum, they open these doors. And they're transplanted into like this cafeteria area. I don't know what the hell, but they're sitting inside the room are all of these dead bodies that Mark has, killed over his lifetime. And, Steven's trying to uncover, the secrets, and Mark is still trying to keep them hidden. And he was pretty much mentioned like, yeah, I was a mercenary, this. But in the same room as all of these bodies, a little boy pops up in the corner, and Steven's like, yo, Mark, why is there a little boy in this room of people that you've killed?
Right. Right.
right?
That spot right there. I was sitting there saying, "Come on, Mark." Like,
Right.
but carry on. Keep going.
And I was thinking, what is this, his son? Like, what's going on? Because Mark was like, look, don't follow him, leave him alone. Don't go over there. But Steven follows him, right? And as he's following the boy down the hall, he's kind of like transported into this memory. Steven sees a woman out in the backyard, and it's his mother. He knows it's his mother. And he also sees the little boy. And he also sees another little boy that the mom calls Mark. Oh, and there's an echo. I don't know where it's going.
What?
But so he's like, okay, no, clearly this is a memory, right? So they're going through the memory. The two little boys, they said, okay, yeah, we're going off to play, bye, mom. And they made a mention of a fish without a fin.
Yes,
So I
that's
was
a great callback. I'm glad that you peeped that too. Yes, he had one fin. He drew the fish, and he had one fin. I thought that was such a great, because now I want to pay attention to all these things, especially how everything is on the internet now. Like, I got there first. But go ahead.
All right, we saw it.
We saw it.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
So the two little boys, they go off to play, right? It starts raining, and keep in mind, little baby Mark was a little bit of the aggressor. He's the more outgoing one, and the other little boy is Roro. He's more, reserved. He's like the shyer one of the brothers. So it starts raining, and Roro was like, "Oh yeah, mom told us not to go there in the rain." But Mark's like, "What are you, a baby? Like, come on, we out here, like Steven the Adventurer, like the movie that we saw in the last episode they were watching."
It was, Stephen Grant. It was like, yeah. Because they started doing accents too. I'm sorry, I think that actually plays a part into this episode with the accents, because when they were like, they started doing the British accents and stuff. Like, what we're gonna do today, mate? And we're like, we're gonna go out today, mate. That was so offensive. Please don't know what it is, but that was the accents that they were doing.
Yes. So yeah, just like kids would do, they playing around with the fake accents. And the whole time Steven is following them, right? And as they walk into the cave, it starts raining. Steven steps on a little skeleton thing, and it looks like a little bird skeleton, like Kachu, right? Yes. Looks like a little miniature Kachu.
Mini Kachu.
Yeah, mini Kachu. And the boys go into the cave, and of course it starts to flood, and Steven's calling to them like, hey, boys, come back, as if they can hear them. And in the echoing distance, we can hear Mark calling to Steven, tell him, hey, yo, come back. Like he doesn't want him to know what the fuck.
You remember in this spot, he locked him out of that room because he knew that Mark was trying to hold back. And obviously he didn't want him to know more than he did. So, Steven is going through each door trying to, I don't know how he eventually got in, but carry on.
So as the water levels are literally rising in the cave, Steven kind of has to swim through to try to find the boys. And then we're flashed into a living room, and we see that it's a funeral, right? Mm-hmm. We see the picture of the other little boy, Roro, has passed away. And mom is distraught. She's inconsolable, to the point that she starts to blame baby Mark for the death of Roro. So baby Mark comes down the steps, and she's pretty much like, you should have protected him. This is your fault, right? And Steven's watching, and he's like, this isn't how mom is. Like, what's going on? He follows baby Mark and runs up the stairs. And Mark, big grown Mark, is like right behind him, trying to get him to stop, right?
Mark!
But actually, Steven, no! Come back. So as Steven is running away from Mark, just trying to figure out more what's going on. Then they're flashed to a birthday scene. We're sitting at the dinner table. We got baby Mark.
That was hard.
And dad is calling up to baby Mark, like, dad is calling up to mom. Yeah, to come down to the dinner table for his birthday. And of course, mom's is unresponsive. She's not coming down for shit. Mm-hmm. And they have the birthday without her.
That was hard.
And again, we're flashed to it. What'd you say?
I'm sorry. I was saying that was a really hard scene to watch. I mean, when I was watching this thing, it was really each episode was so different, right? And this one to me was like this origin story that we I felt like we wanted to get, and I'm glad that they waited for so long. But it was just like, it was a really hard scene to watch. I just felt so bad for this little kid. Now, obviously not his fault and intentionally to do this, but when you're watching the scene and the mother just don't want to have nothing to do with this scene you do, because it's the following birthday, and then even then she eventually comes down, and I don't mean to do a cheap plug here, ladies and gentlemen, but this is a wind down. She came down with a bottle of, she came to a bottle with something. I don't know what it was, but we have a bottle here. So if you guys are enjoying this, give us a like, love, and share, and have your bottles up. And I don't mean to toast or anything, because this was actually a really sad episode. But, she comes down with the bottle, and she's sitting there saying, "You was always jealous of Roro.
Yeah.
You always, I could always see in your, I mean, just
on his birthday, just talking mess about the little boy.
I mean, it doesn't even matter what day it would have ever been, but on his birthday, where he's just, I mean, you look, and I don't want to dig too deep, because I know there's so many other things to talk about, but the scene before the first birthday, you already know he's distraught, because it's just, there's this guilt already on him. The next birthday, you can almost see in his eyes, like, he kind of moved on, he's happy, and then the mother came in and did all that stuff, and he throws the. I mean, this was really a hard watch. This was a really hard watch for me, because I just felt like, wow, I felt so for that little kid. But I'm sorry, go into the next scene. I just wanted to dig a little deeper into that.
Yeah, pretty much this time on that birthday, he became angry that she was so, blaming him and just being just a horrible mom to him. He leaves the dinner table. He starts to go, he runs up the stairs. Steven tries to run after him, right? And then I think Marc grabs him out. He's like, look,
yeah, he does.
We don't need to be going up there. Stop asking questions, pretty much, right?
Marc didn't relive this at all.
Yes. And so then after that scene, they're like outside. They see an older version of Marc, still a young man, but, older than what he was. Maybe like,
I would say like late teens, 20s. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's leaving. And Dad is like, don't leave. I can't have another son gone. And he leaves anyway. He's gone to join the army or something like that, I assume. So that's when what happened to, I believe they flashed back into the boat, or
I think they have a flashback to the scene, because I know a few times they kept going back to the what do you call that thing? The I'm sorry, I'm so bad.
The boat?
No, it's the boat, but it's the thing that juggles their heart and the feather of truth.
Oh, the balance.
The balance. Yes, thank you. So a few times they've seen, because a few times they kept seeing it, because each and every memory that is going on, they eventually see that Marc is revealing something to them. So I know they go to the balance thing, and I think they're on the matter of fact, when they are back on the ship, Arthur is causing all kinds of hell that we don't know about, because we can't see it. Because he's sitting there judging people, and people are just freaking dying. They're just going to the.
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. So they get transported to like another memory. When they're in Egypt, and what's his name? Marc.
Oh, this is the scene when he murdered people, right?
Yes. Okay. He gives them the big M, and Steven's looking around. He's like, "Oh, that's Layla's father," and I'm like, "How the fuck did he know this is Layla's dad out of all of the people?" But whatever.
Because Steve pays attention. That's what it is.
But how? He never met that man in his life.
Yeah.
Never seen a picture.
See, you asked the hard-hitting questions. I don't have it. You're gonna have to write Disney Plus on this one.
So, anyway, he knows immediately, for whatever reason, that this one dead man is Layla's dad.
Well, to be fair, I think. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say, but no, Arthur was talking to Layla, because I was gonna say
exactly. He wasn't there.
Right, you're right. My bad. I was trying to. I thought I had answers. My bad. Go ahead.
So yeah, they're showing all the bodies. Marc at this point, past Marc is hurt. He's crawling into the temple, bleeding out. He's about to end his life. And that's when we hear the voice, the familiar voice, the familiar European voice of this ancient Egyptian god.
He was great. I love this scene so much. I said, if there was a lot of people talk about they want to be narrated by and rightfully so, like Samuel L. Jackson,
Morgan Freeman.
But Cashew comes in, broken are you? He comes out of nowhere, fractured soul. You seem like the perfect soldier for me. I'm like, oh my God, that's totally me. And no one's ever called me perfect. So this guy came out of nowhere with the powerful ass voice. Like he makes me, I hate cereal. He would make me eat chocolate cereal. That voice was able to do. I know, right? I hate chocolate cereal.
Even the Reese's Pieces with the peanut butter and the chocolate pieces.
Wait, you like chocolate cereal?
I like the Reese's cereal.
Hold up, man. You ain't never had like Count Chocula, a Cookie Crisp, or Cocoa Puff.
I feel like this is the last time you're ever gonna see the trio because I just broke bond.
What?
Wow.
Where you been, man? Like, well, hold up, that's an
Thank
American.
you.
I just told you. Like,
That makes
Wow,
sense.
everyone likes chocolate cereal but me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't like chocolate ice cream, but chocolate cereal can get it.
all day.
I take that back.
But anyway,
Oh my God. But
I'm
I mean,
about to go to the supermarket right now. Like,
the Reese's giant.
Now I offended Vic.
I'm about to do the healthy thing and get some chocolate Kellogg.
He comes out of nowhere. He voices to him and he convinces him. And Steven, and like I said, I wanted to give Steven a lot of props on this episode because it was like he really was. I don't know how to. I'm trying to find the right words for everything. I mean, we're live, so it's hard. But manipulating you. He manipulated you since day one.
Yeah.
Like he called it, he peeped it, and was like, this guy is like using you. And I think Mark even knew, and Mark had to go, yeah, but it's what kept me alive.
It's what kept us alive. And I think that's really telling because people who's been through trauma, they are always very I guess they brush off their trauma, and I guess it's a defense mechanism or something they learned over time. But people who have a more healthy, I guess, they grew up in a more healthy environment, they're quick to call out people's trauma, like this isn't supposed to be that way. And I thought that that was a really, really telling scene because Steven could instantly recognize it as, hey, he's manipulating you. And Mark, of course, who's deep inside of his trauma, just like, no, it's me. You always put the blame back on yourself if you have this trauma in your life, especially if you grow up with people always putting the blame on you. Like we see that happened to Mark. He was
because he no
go ahead.
Finish. No, please. No, finish. I'm good. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Oh no, we see that he grew up in a very unhealthy environment. Everything was always Mark. Mark, you're the issue. Mark, you're the bad one. But we'll get into that, later on in the episode in just a couple moments. But yes, so it was that scene that we see. That's when Mark actually accepted Khonshu and took on the title of Moon Knight and became his avatar, right? And so once he did that, they hear like a noise behind it, like, yo, what's going on? And that's when they go back into the little boat area, and they're like, there's, they hear monkeys and stuff happening, like they don't know what the hell. And Hippo is like, they're just sending down souls. It's going wild. And Steven's trying to like, yeah, that's why we need to get back up because Arthur's causing a mess. We need to get back to our body. And she, for whatever reason, knows that they were shot or stabbed or whatever, they were shot, and that they would go back into a body that was shot. I don't know how she knows this. I'll just assume.
Well, she's one of the gods. I mean, I don't see how she could not know one of them. Even though she's the god of like female and kids, I'm pretty sure she's still that connection of knowing things that's going on above. Because even then, she was calling when Arthur was just sending people. Let's call it for what it is. Arthur was sending people to hell. Arthur was like, you can't be on my
my perfect world.
You can't. You what? You come outside the line. What? You eat chocolate cereal? You gotta. Now that I know that, that's what.
He said, "Get the fuck! You can't be here.
You can't be here.
Straight to hell."
Arthur, Jesus 5 threatening you, like, oh my God, you got to go to hell. That's crazy. What up, Joey? That's gonna be our third partner for Family Feud. What up, fam?
Yo.
Nice.
So yeah, and she was like, all right, bet. Let me see what I can do, right? I can try to contact Khonshu and Layla to see what, what can happen here. So she's like, all right, bet y'all still got to go in there. Cause if we get to this spot and your heart's still not balanced, there's nothing I can do at that point. The rules are the rules.
It really wasn't. And even at that point, it really was at that point was really starting to, but it was always that one point where Mark stopped Steven from going into that room. And I think that's where you want to get to. So please carry on.
We do see. So she makes a U-turn, tries to head over to Osiris's spot to get them back into the earth, right? But before they get there, they got to balance the heart. So they go back in. And Steven is still trying to stop her. He's like, look, you don't got to go there. I'll just tell you what happens, right? It's not that serious. Oh, yeah. Mark is telling this to Steven.
It's hard to tell the same person, but yeah.
Yeah. And so Steven's like, what do you mean it's not that serious? Like, if, all these people's lives are on the line, Layla's lives on the line. If we don't do nothing, this is all on you, right? And that's when Mark flips. He goes into this state where he's just like, no. Like, he fucking, like, goes crazy.
And I felt like with this scene, right, it showed, because from the few, excuse me, I'm sorry, but at the earlier episodes, Mark was kind of calm, even though in episode 2, it really he can if things don't go his way, he can be I don't want to say carried like a kid, but he gets emotionally I don't want to say emotionally disturbed, just get over emotional. When Mark is trying to, and Steven is like the calm one, he's like, he's like how you said everything. He's trying to explain like the world is like, we need to do this because if we don't, the girl that you love, she'll die. And he's like, no, you can't force me to do that. No. Oh, God, that really hurt. Oh, my goodness. Oh, shit, that hurt. Damn. I wasn't trying to do that. But he's like, no. Oh, I really hurt. I'm never going to do that again. Oh, my God. Ow.
You hurt yourself? Uh-oh. See, just like Steven and Marc.
Like, no. And then he wakes up. Ow.
Yeah. Then, after he has like this whole episode, he wakes up back into the office of Dr. Harrow, Dr. Arthur. And Arthur's pretty much telling him like, hey, welcome back. I know you're crazy. Like, but we got to speak to Steven because you got to heal things with Steven because, I know you're crazy. You're crazy. So we got to see what's going on with this other personality so we can kind of, get you on the road to a healthy recovery. So it was during that time, I believe, that it's flashback to Steven. Steven gets access to the room. This is the room that Mark was trying to keep him from, right, whole time. So they're in the room. They see little baby Mark in the corner. And Steven's saying, hey, I remember this room, but it wasn't like this. It was like a little different. And we see baby Mark in the corner, kind of scared in the corner. We got moms outside the door yelling, screaming, open this door, open this door, Mark, acting crazy. And that's when we see that baby Mark has this kind of disassociation, like switch, and he turns himself into a baby Steven. He's like, he doesn't hear mom outside. He sees the room. He's like, oh, this is a mess. So what he's like, this room, what a state this room is in. Let's fix it up before mom sees it. And he starts picking up pencils, right? And mom busts in the door. And
like the Kool-Aid
she's
man.
like, oh, yeah, I'm going to teach you a lesson. And she starts beating on baby Mark / baby Steven.
More Steven. And Steven don't need knowledge.
Yeah, he doesn't recognize it because this is Mark's defense mechanism. This is how he disassociates from what's actually happening to him.
Because I think even Steven said something over the lines of like, so I'm like your stress ball. And and I think
made me up.
Truly in. So anyone?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Do that to the
so I like for me. So I'm not familiar with the Moon Knight character. Anyone who's read the comics, they obviously know. But for me, as I'm watching the series, I thought Steven was the original. Mark was something, but I never understood all that. So for it to be explained, even though as the episode was progressing, I was like, oh, original one. I'm just that. And this was the scene where it was confirmed that Mark is the original and he created Steven. And Steven is obviously taken by this because he's like, what? Like, he's just blown away by this because like anyone who, like I said, if you did not follow Moon Knight, you didn't know that. And that's why it blew my mind seeing that. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah,
It's
that
disappointing.
Steven is the copy, pretty much.
But
He's
what
the
did they what
variant.
I mean, I
It's
want to go
it's
into the next.
disappointing actually, to tell you the truth.
Why so?
How so?
Because the thing is just that Mark is portrayed as such a strong person, but then emotionally he's incredibly weak to the point where he all right. I understand the trauma. Trust, I
Hmm.
get that. I get the trauma. But then, you're so weak that you spend probably the better part of 20 years hiding inside of an imaginary an imaginary persona, not one that you can clearly knew you were making up. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like, to me, you soft. You scared to face the truth. And mind you, and that's one of the things that I kind of liked about this episode, because I think it's very telling of just people in general. You know what I mean? People will hide things for many many years and have different coping mechanisms. This right here was to the extreme. But the reason why I'm disappointed is because I kind of feel like it takes away from from the character of Moon Knight. I mean, it humanizes him a little bit more, but I think that it kind of just takes away from the edginess.
You know what? I can't help but to disagree. I think that it does. There are a lot of people with mental illness, a lot of people with trauma, and people that you wouldn't even expect. They go about living their normal lives, and you would not even know the trauma that they've been through, right? And the fact that he did have this trauma and still was able to, go out and do these spectacular things, I think that's really a testament to how strong he really is, right? But he does have this mental break. He does have this coping mechanism that he creates this other life for himself to disassociate from the horrors of his childhood. My question is, though, how is it that he was able to go about his whole life where no one knew about this?
Hmm.
He's married. He never had a point in his marriage where he broke into Steven and Layla recognized, like, hey, this isn't
It's
him. You know what I'm
interesting.
saying?
When did he? I want to ask this
You know,
because I know in the
I
next
don't think he
scene,
was Steven for that long.
no, he was
Well,
Steven
he
for a
was been
great
Steven
portion of
since
his
a
life.
child.
Yeah, he was.
No, no,
He
no. But
was.
what I'm saying is that, look, do you see the part where, and you're about to get into this, right? So
Yes.
the funeral,
Hmm.
right? The funeral.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, all of a sudden, Steven shows up out of nowhere, and but we couldn't really determine how long it's been. You know what I mean? Like, Mark, Mark went to the funeral,
Hmm.
started crying, couldn't go inside,
Right.
felt
Well,
so
no,
much
he didn't
pain.
want to.
No, yeah, he didn't want to go inside. Saw his father's face, couldn't face his father. Went into so much pain. Took the hat off of his head,
Yes.
slammed it on the ground. Cried, 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 cried some more. Right, because of the loss of his mother. And then all of a sudden, Steven shows up,
And they said
talking to
point,
mom.
and maybe at this point they could have probably explained it a lot more. But
Hmm.
he said at that spot, that was the spot where where they used to intertwine a lot more. I think at once upon a time he was able to really control it.
No,
That's the
but
impression.
see, because here's the thing, like,
Sure,
what
sure.
what 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 disappointed me about it was just this, like, Steven is the
Hmm.
physically weak one, but the emotionally strong one,
Mhm.
right? And then on the
He's the
flip side,
it's like bronze and
Mark,
brains.
Mark is the brawn, but then emotionally, he runs like he runs scared.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's what kind of takes the edginess off of Mark for me, because now Steven um looks like he's a person that's a little bit more level headed and a person that is more emotionally stronger. And, for lack of a better phrase, you know what I mean? I feel like Steven is the coping mechanism,
Mhm.
which is sad to me, because you literally have to go to a whole point of making someone else to deal with pain. You know what I mean? And like, and you could deal with all kinds of physical pain. Somebody can kick your ass and have your jaw almost cracked. But then, to deal with something that's real, you have to run.
Mhm.
And mind you, and like this whole episode, I really liked because I feel like it was really revealing of just life in general. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Welcome
No,
back.
it's good.
Yeah,
Welcome back
no,
to
it
the
was very
technical
triggering,
difficulties.
very triggering episode. I almost feel like it should come with a disclosure, honestly, for people
Disclaimer.
who've had trauma.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah,
but
I didn't even think that, but go ahead.
yeah, so they do exit out of the room. Stephen realizes that he is the imaginary one. He isn't the original. And pretty much Marcus like, is that what you wanted? You were supposed to be my escape. You weren't supposed to see that mom
Mhm,
beat us and was
mhm,
so abusive towards us. You aren't supposed to know that mom's dead. And Stephen's like,
mhm.
mom's dead. And keep in mind, if you are our loyal viewers would realize from episode 1, I theorized that mom's dead from Get. I said this bitch is dead. He's
No, exact.
That's exact phrasing. I say he
Yes,
ain't talking to nobody, bruh. We don't hear
Right.
no voice.
you
So
did say that for the
Oh my God.
longest. You did. Yep.
That's true.
and so
That is true.
and so he's Steven's in it now. He's like, don't you say that. He's flipping out to the point that he's actually transported into the room with Dr. Harrow, right? AKA Dr. Arthur.
Ah.
And Arthur is, he's like, oh, I thought I'd never see you again, Stephen. And Stephen is, very still much like, oh, this is Arthur trying to, Egyptian Arthur trying to, get to what's her name?
Mhm,
Yeah,
Not
the one
whatever her
who
name.
can't you can't be on my perfect world.
Yes,
mhm.
until Stephen, I'm not Stephen, until Arthur was
Mark,
like, oh yeah,
and
what did
Steven, yeah.
he tell you that was a lie? And he was like, oh, he mentioned that my mom was dead. And she was like, oh, well, she is dead. And that's when Stephen flipped. He's like, if you say that again, I'm going to
I
flip.
will freak out.
Yes, I will freak out.
I
Now
So,
will
that part
flip
of it, but here's the
tables.
truth though. Here's the truth though. When in any other episode have you seen Steven get that upset?
he hasn't because he hasn't been faced.
Never,
That's what
ever,
happens when
ever,
you
ever. You
you
ever
you
see?
This
try to
episode
make
showed
someone realize the truth. That's
this
what when you
episode
try to
showed
break
a lot.
someone's bring them to reality. That's what happens.
Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
showed a lot more because when you was thinking about, I was sitting there saying, well, there was that episode where he threw a punch, but that don't really count. But this episode, he
No, but
really
like
didn't.
no, you could feel that he was
You're saying
mad.
emotionally.
He was
You're saying
yes,
emotionally.
Yeah.
yes, like he was ready to flip. Like and he's like,
He
you say
said,
that, I'm
I
gonna
will
freak out.
freak out and I will flip tables with my brothers
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and step on
Mm-hmm.
your
Because
Jesus 6.
And mind
he's
you,
forced to
Stephen was
face the
never
reality.
that bold. Never was he
No.
that bold before.
But see, I'm gonna say him because I know the next scene we're gonna get into. We're talking about the funeral. But early on, there was a scene where Mark was standing across the street, and he said, "What is this? What is this? What is it?" And obviously, Mark knew, but Mark didn't want to touch it. Mark was like, "I don't know. I've stood across the street plenty of times. You haven't you done that?" Which honestly, I can say that plenty of times. Especially if I couldn't afford to be in the store, so I've definitely done that. And eventually it goes to that scene because that scene obviously, early on and leads to that, which when we were talking briefly about, which was the funeral. And, Mark is there because it was for his mother's funeral and he can't bring himself to go in there. And I can't help but believe like the father looked so, I gotta look up the actor. I feel like I've seen this. And
he wasn't familiar to me, but I
No.
don't want us to brush past the scene because this is
Right.
the scene
this is a
where
powerful
it
scene.
was Stephen comes to, the conclusion that yes, my mom is dead because Arthur brings up the phone and say, hey, here, talk to her. She wants to talk to you. And Stephen comes to like the realization, don't call her, she doesn't want to be disturbed, coming up with all these excuses because he's, doesn't want to be forced to admit to himself that his mother is dead. And yeah, he holds the phone and we hear that, yeah, it's a dead line. No one's on the phone. He's like, oh yeah, my mom is dead. And that's when we're flashed to the point where Mark is across the street. And his dad tries to wave him into the funeral because this is when, his mom's funeral. And Mark doesn't go in. He shows up and he couldn't make himself go in. It was so sad, such a sad scene because of course this is his mom, but this is also his abuser. And it's like, you can't really kind of connect those two in a way that makes sense to him, even as a child and as an adult. So that's why he created this other, being, which is Steven. But yeah, he walks away from the funeral, walks down the street, crying because his mom's dead, but he doesn't even want to give her that strength over him to even cry over her death. And that's when he has the break again. He turns into Steven, and and instantly, which I thought is very interesting, he turns into Steven, and Steven calls his mom. So it's like he has this connection that he wants to be subconsciously. He wants to be his mother, to be whoever, this great mom, which is why Steven's mom is like this perfect mom who he calls and talks to every day. But anyway, right?
He mentions at that point where that's where they started, like their worlds were starting to connect a little bit, because I felt like in a great. Obviously, we don't get to see every little thing, but I feel like at that point they're pointing out like Mark was able to have Steven over here, Mark over here, but this is when it started really.
Yeah. He couldn't control it to I guess a certain thing. It just happens. And at this point, I'm also wondering, how is it that this little American boy grew up with this fake little British accent, and then so much to the point that he starts living this British life? Because we see him in like England, working at the gift shop.
He lives in England.
Yeah,
he has a whole place in England.
None of them real Brits call him out on that fake accent. They just all believe this little boy who grew up faking an accent his whole life, and suddenly they're like,
we're not trying to have Disney Plus fight us.
No, but wait, one thing I'm curious about is the flat. The flat where he had the phone stash, where he said it was his mother's flat. Like, whose flat is that really? You know what I mean? And
it has to be Mark's, because it was only 20 minutes from where Mark was living with Layla and his wife, right? That's what they said.
But speaking about that, though, we saw a scene a couple episodes ago where Layla was crazy, and in the house as well. So, like, now with all of this, especially after this episode, in the next episode, I want to see how much of this is real and how much of this is made up. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but go ahead.
No, you don't just enough, because I want to know too. Like, how was he able to live this whole life? And don't nobody know? How was he even able to get into the military with this psychosis? Don't they screen for this? Like, wouldn't it have shown throughout all of that stress, PTSD? He would have turned into Steven, clearly. But either way, right? Whatever. Don't bring too much logic here.
Narrative.
So they are after the break, they hear some craziness going down. They flash back to where the hippo is. And the hippo's like, oh yeah, we made it to Osiris's spot, bro. We at his house, but the doors are closed and the hearts still aren't,
not balanced. Not balanced.
So she's like, I'm sorry, I did all I can do. Now the zombies gotta take you.
She even walks off. She walks off. I love this spot because that's literally me at 5 o'clock. She said, look, I did all I could do, and she left. You didn't see that hippo no more. She put them big hippo hands on the clock. Go, bing.
Right. I'm off work. I'm off the clock. Sorry.
Right.
Whatever happens. So after she disappears, that's when all of the sand demons start coming up. These are like, dead zombie bodies coming up on the ship, trying to overtake Steven and Marc. And Marc tells Steven, yo, get back. I'll take care of it. Right?
Marc was like, yo, I got this. Yeah.
And low-key, the sand demons was giving him the work. They was tossing him up.
Let's give it up to our boy here, though. We made fun of Steven. If you guys been listening to us for the longest time, we made fun of Steven. He rubbed feet. But this guy said, yo, I got hands. And he said, wait a minute. He said, wait a minute. He said, but two. And he came through. He came in with the bat. He even said, he made a reference. He said, personally, I prefer
rugby or something.
He was kicking all kinds of ass.
Yeah, he did a great job.
That's why I said this was really.
I mean, but that what was very revealing about this whole thing. That whole scene where Steven was the one kicking ass, where emotionally Marc was the one that was like, uh-oh. You know what I mean? And
then, what it is? It's
toilet. Continue, because this spot is crazy.
It's always been Marc when it comes to anything athletic. he would do and handle all that stuff because he could do that stuff. That's just what he's trained to do. Steven is the guy who sells hippos. He sells the little hippo.
But think about it. We're in a moment where everything is revealed. The scales are balancing. There's a moment of the two personalities.
Ooh, this is interesting.
The two personalities pretty much just like coming together to try to survive. Right? I mean, I didn't say the rest, but like,
but that's so
like
interesting.
That whole thing, like when you think about the big picture, it makes sense. But then especially with the way that it ends, Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But the ending really took me. But I will say this.
Sure,
another thing that I don't understand is, again, this hippo is thousands of years old at this point. She's never seen someone with schizophrenia or split personalities, because the fact that she even had to ask, hey, are you two twins? Like, what's going on? You've seen people who've had schizophrenia that came up in here with two bodies and you acting brand new. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. That didn't make sense to me. Didn't make sense. But, she did make a reference talking about the ancestral plane. And I think that's a callback to Black Panther. But
it could be.
Yeah, really cool. But anyway, so yeah, Steven does come with the work, start messing these sand demons up, but they have Marc over the wall. They literally about to, have him over the ship. And Steven comes in like, no. He tries to get the little sand demon off of Marc. And in the process, he ends up flipping over the boat himself. He falls out of the boat.
That's Steven. Yeah.
Into the sand. And we know because Hippo already explained, like, yo, if you in the sand, you're just about to be there. That's like hell. And you're there for life. So Steven falls off the boat. Marc is still on there, like, Steven, no, stop the boat. Steven kind of tries to go after the boat, but he's freezing. Like, he's in the process of freezing. He's turning into like this Pompeii-esque sand statue. And as soon as that happens, right, the scales balance, and Steven has been damned to hell pretty much at this point, and Marc is transplanted into the field of reeds, heaven.
I wanted to sit here and say this because as Vic was talking, I was sitting there wondering, hey, because obviously Steven was the brains, but I'm wondering if he knew, if I do this will get you to your point. You don't think so?
I don't think so. I don't think he knew.
Well, no, he had to kill Steven. Wait a minute. All Steven was a coping mechanism.
Yes.
He was, but he was also the brain. He was. No, that's true. That's true. But he was easily the brain of the both of them, because anything when it came to solving shit, it was always Steven. It was
exactly because Steven is
everything else, even though he was a mechanism and all that stuff. I understand that. But as you say that, I can't help but go like, right, Marc was the guy who could do track and field, who can lift up a weight with one arm. He could do all these athletic abilities. But when it came to thinking, he couldn't do what Steven can do. And I can't help but believe Steven knew that, especially when it comes to the background that Steven had. When it came to, if you look at the archives, when we were talking about episodes where, when we're talking about the Egyptian history and everything like that, it wasn't Marc solving on any of that shit. It was Steven. I sit here and go, I think Steven, I just wanted to throw it out there. I think Steven knew to a degree, and he did that. Maybe he didn't know. I don't know. But maybe.
I don't know. I don't think he knew. In my personal opinion, I don't think he knew, because if he knew then he would have known how to balance the scales, and he wouldn't have had to gone back and do all those members. He would have sacrificed himself, in my opinion.
But too. Oh no! Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, I think it was completely by happenstance. I think it was an accident that he fell off. I don't think he purposefully sacrificed himself. Would he have done it if he had known?
No,
maybe, yeah. That. I think he's a good guy, but I don't think he did it on purpose. I don't think he knew.
I think because they even kept mentioning throughout the whole episode, the scale would go. No, we don't know as the audience, and obviously it's all speculations and whatever. And I can't wait to hear people's theories, because someone's going to come up with some bullshit. But nonetheless, I just think he slightly knew, and when he did it, and maybe he didn't, I don't know, because I mean, this episode he showed a lot of balls. I mean, this episode was the Steven episode, because even in early in out here, he punched Marc. I mean, obviously he hurt his fist. He had to do like this, but he punched, and I mean, this was like really more of a Steven. I can't wait to do episode 6. I do want to sit here and say real quick, episode 5, I tweeted earlier, I couldn't help but say, like, maybe it's too soon, but this is kind of like my favorite episode. I mean, there was a lot of layers into this episode. I can't sit here and say there was perfect writing. I don't believe there's no such thing as that. But this episode did grab emotion, and I really, really, really liked episode 5, and I can't wait to see what episode 6 looks like, especially since it's the last one.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode too.
I'm very curious to see what happens, because the reality of the situation is that I wonder how much of this stuff Mark made up. Because truth be told, like, here's the thing, like, all right, it all stems from these Indiana Jones movies that he watched as a kid. Even the name of the person that he made is also Steven, right? Yeah. So this person was like, Raiders of the Lost Ark knew all of this stuff, all of this Egyptian stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if this guy is literally just hardcore Egyptian fanboying in his head. I wonder if Moon Knight is actually a thing. I wonder if a lot of this is just stuff that he made in his head. You know what I mean? Because a lot of it, like, look, it's starting to feel like him being in the office with the guy that puts glass in his shoes is the reality.
See, I can see that.
I mean, and mind you, if that's the direction of this episode to make me feel that way, so that then there's a swerve later, great. But this episode makes me feel like, damn, man, like, you went so hard to hide from the truth that you made up a whole nother personality. And mind you, you did that as a kid, no doubt. You kept that up for 20 something years. And then eventually just were faced with the truth. So, like, Mark being turned into stone symbolizes you no longer need Mark. Now you can just be Steven. So now I'm curious
no longer need Steven.
How much I'm curious to see, like, what's revealed now, because now there's no more Mark. So now I'm curious to see if there's any more Egypt.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that it was a purposeful misdirect. I think the only reason that if this was a standalone non-Marvel movie or non-Marvel show, I would say, okay, well, I don't know which reality is the real reality, but the Egyptian Moon Knight reality is the only thing that makes sense within the Marvel universe. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that's the real reality, and that the Insane Asylum is like the, what we've been told by the Hippo, that this is like some afterlife type situation.
Yeah, that I believe.
I do think that it was a sad ending, because you're like, Steven was the more, I guess, good of the two, and the fact that he has to live in purgatory or hell, it doesn't seem like morally right to me as a viewer. But at the same time, like you said, he's not the real person. He's the coping mechanism. So maybe in episode 6, because he's not an actual soul, he will get like kind of reunited back with Mark or something like that. I don't know, because it seems like this is a place for people, for the dead. And if he's not a real person because he's an invention of Mark, there's no place for him there, in my opinion. But I am excited to see episode 6, even though I feel like these Marvel shows don't end on the best way. Like, especially like, I can name a couple. The endings never are satisfying for me, except for Hawkeye.
Maybe we'll have a top 5 or something.
Yeah, maybe. But okay, but thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like it and share with your friends. And join us next Wednesday for another recap with alcohol.
It's going to be another wind down. Episode 6 is the final one. We're going to be back here Wednesday around 8 o'clock. It's going to be the Tree of Destiny, talking about I almost said Hawkeye. Oh my god.
The best Marvel show, but we'll talk about it.
Hey guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we catch you guys. Bye.
Goodbye. Bye.